Well, hello, dear viewers. How the devil are you? We're going to do another beer review today, and we're starting a new box. We're on to the current box. Jesus, I've cleared that backlog. It's taken me a while, a lot of drinking, a lot of nights in, and all that kind of stuff. But I've done it for your delectation. The least you could do is like this video, think about subscribing, and leave a comment down below because all those things do help growing the channel, etc., etc. So we are looking at the Northern Monk box, and there isn't actually an article on the teamed up brewery. However, there is quite a good article on Northern Monk itself. And look at this chap with a massive beard like me, and this guy who looks like some German kind of gay pop icon or Euro icon, Eurovision maybe. I love it when German people have mullets. It's ridiculous. I'm not saying he's German. He's from up north. But you know what I mean. Anyhow, we are kind of off to Leeds because we're looking at Amity Brewing in collaboration with the Northern Monk, of course. And this is a West Coast Pale. I'm glad they didn't call it an IPA because it's only 4.5%. And it's called Liquid Notes. As usual, well, not as usual because they don't always do it, but Amity kind of do this weird record vibe. I've had a couple of their beers before where they've done that. I've also had beers where they haven't done that. But yeah, really interesting. And it says a West Coast Pale Ale, music to our ears. So it's linked into music somewhere. Anything else of worthy to tell you? 4.5%. What have we got in there? It looks like, yeah, nothing else apart from malt in there, which is kind of cool. And looking at the notes, as I'm showing you the can here, we've got Mosaic, Centennial, which used to be my absolute favourite hop, and Chinook. So quite old school, really, apart from the Mosaic. And Mosaic's not new school, although it's used in a lot of new school style beers. Yeah, it's not super new school anymore. Reasonably old, but the other two are quite old. Chinook, Centennial, classic West Coast IPA fare in a pale ale. Really, really interesting. Boom, boom, boom. Let us do a quick pressure test. Yep, that is absolutely fine. This has been in the fridge for, I only think for a day, because this is the first one off the new box, so I only turned over the beers today. Right, tulip glass as usual. Now, are we going to go hazy? This is supposed to be a West Coast beer. And West Coast beers aren't usually hazy. Can they resist? They can indeed. Wow. I am suitably impressed. I mean, there's a little tiny haze, but you can definitely see my ugly mug, my beard especially, through there. Ooh. See my eyeball? It's not superbly clear, but not too bad at all. Right, let's do one of these. So there is said beer in said glass and a stupid grin. I usually turn my head sideways, so today I haven't, dear viewer. It is all for your delectation. Right, let's have a look. Not much head. In fact, look at that. It's already gone. That's a fingernail's worth of head, which usually means it's reasonably strong, but in this case, it's not. Let me see if I can force some head. And again, apparently, there are no oats and no wheat in here, which would partially explain the clearness. But yeah, I think that's probably the clearest beer I've had for a while. Apart from the really old, like gnarly pints of old dishwater bitter that I've been drinking, which is always good for me. I'm looking at my screen now. I have some information that's come from Beer 52. So while you're looking at this, I will read the story to you. It says, balance is key. A harmony between deep toffee, bready malt, and resinous sticky pine. Accents of ground pepper, orange zest, orchid fruit rise from the mix before a crescendo of pithy grapefruit on the finish. Wow. For a pale ale? That's really interesting. I am getting quite a nice sweetness there. I am getting a bit of the pine. I wouldn't say it's superbly resinous though. It's not super gnarly. There is a little bit of flowery kind of thing going on. I don't know if I would necessarily distinguish it as orchid. Um, yeah, I don't know about these perfumery type things. I'm a man who likes beer. Um, there is something there. And then I'm hoping that the grapefruit will come through. No doubt that's coming from the mosaic. Oh, I've got an itchy nose. Sorry, dear viewer, I've done that before many times and not brought your attention to it, but I did this evening, so I apologise. Look at that. I just can't believe that a Beer 52 beer is actually so damn clear. That's surprising. Cheers and beers, guys. Let's dive in. 'Tis almost the weekend. Thursday is the new Friday, as my old pal Jim up there used to say. So here's to you, buddy. Thursday's the new Friday. Hmm. Now, this is interesting because I had the Cloudwater beer the other day, and that was ridiculous, and it had this really weird kind of bitter thing going on in the background. And I'm kind of tasting that here. It's like a burnt resin, a really odd kind of taste. I hope it's not my taste buds that have gone completely for a Burton, but and that hop resinousy type thing, I'm definitely getting something similar to that. But it's a weird burnt, bitter kind of taste, a dankness, if you will. There is the fruit there too. I can kind of see where they're going with the orchid thing. There's definitely a flowery kind of thing going there. Grapefruit, I would say no. Um, and on the finish, I think it's quite watery. So perhaps they were thinking it's a kind of more juicy thing on the finish, and they called it mosaic finish. But it's not. It's not superbly grapefruity in my estimation. Yeah, it's weird. Ooh, well, pardon me, dear viewer. What's weird is the other day I had like an eight, was it 8.5? I can't remember, somewhere quite high, roughly roughly double the strength of this beer. And I'm getting a similar, it's nowhere as dank, nowhere as gnarly, but I'm definitely getting that resinous kind of weirdness in here. It's almost like a mold. It's weird. It's a danky kind of mold thing, like a bitter mold. Like when you eat truffles. I don't know if you've had truffles that often, but sometimes you get a gnarly kind of truffle and it's got that kind of fluff on the outside and you bite into it and it's just like, whoa, super gnarly. Um, that's not what I'm getting full on from here, but it was kind of what I was getting from that Cloudwater beer the other day. So, I know Amity have in the past done some what they call juicy beers, um, which turned out not to be that juicy. And this is kind of similar. It is quite watery, and at 4.5%, that's par for the course, to be honest. But some of the write-up, it's not as full on as perhaps it was leading you to believe, dear viewer. But I am glad that they're calling this a pale ale, a West Coast pale ale, and not an IPA, because it's definitely not. I've had beers that are weaker than this calling themselves the Session IPA, and I'm so glad that this beer hasn't done that. It's doing itself a huge disservice, in my opinion. Calling it a pale ale solves a lot of sins with regards to description as far as I'm concerned. Let's finish this beer off and you guys can get on your way. Where are we? Oh, we're over 10 minutes. That's normal for me. Should do more drinking and less talking, eh? But then it wouldn't be so entertaining. Just if you're watching me drinking and I wasn't talking. Ah, what can I say, Devia? Yeah, there's some funky kind of aftertaste in there. But in this particular beer, I would say I don't actually get on with too much. I don't really like it, but maybe it's your kind of cup of tea. Who knows? Who knows? So this was the first of the Northern Monk Box of Doom, Liquid Notes by Northern Monk and Amity Brewing. And in case you forgot, this is supposed to be a West Coast Pale Ale. Not 100% convinced about that, but it's definitely got the right hops in there. Thank you very much for your time. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. If you haven't enjoyed it, thank you for bearing with me for this long. And for those of you that are interested, Unclejona will return with a beer review real soon.